The following story is true and a personal one. Before podcasting about scary stories, I had a job running a hostel, which is like an affordable hotel in South America. In it, I had one of the most vivid and undeniable encounters with the paranormal. My name is Edwin. Here is a true scary story. This happened back in 2017, I would say. I was offered a job to run a hostel in South America. Now, a hostel is it's like an affordable hotel that also has like shared rooms, and it's really cool. Sometimes there's parties, there's a lot of things to do in a hostel. I was offered that job kind of randomly. Carla and I both went and we met with the guy, and he said, yeah, like, I'd be happy to have you guys here, whatever, right? So we pretty much started running this place. Like, we became the administrators. We were just kind of fixing up the place and making the hostel feel, more inviting. I remember like we bought a lot of things. Like, we even bought a PlayStation 4, I think, or something. Pool tables. Like, we set it up with like a bar and everything. The owner himself was a little strange. Like, he had this strange idea to make a dome, kind of like a sweat lodge, on the roof of this building. I understood the point, right? Because there's a lot of tourists who travel for this kind of stuff. So he saw that as a business opportunity. But I mean, he used to say things like, what if, we dress up the guard as a shaman and sell these types of services or something like that. So he wasn't really taking it too seriously, right? I think my main concern was that somebody would would join one of these episodes or high or whatever you want to call it and like jump off the roof or something like that. Like, I was afraid of that. But either way, like, they made it. They got a bunch of concrete, they made the shape of it, and they put a fire pit in the middle so that they could make smoke out of it and take care of the ceremony. There was an idea to, draw like symbols on it and stuff like that. And I don't know, the whole thing was strange. It was kind of funny to me at first, but I didn't know of the consequences of something like that. Now, it was during breakfast time. Now, at the roof of this building, we had like this cafeteria that used to be in service from like 7 in the morning to noon or something like that. There was this one guy, I don't remember his name, but he was like, you could tell he was like a very spiritual person, and he had long hair, and he was into the whole earthy movement, or I'm not really sure what the appropriate word for it is. And he looked outside and asked us like, hey, that looks like a temazcal, which temazcal means a sweat lodge. And we said, yeah, that's what it is. So he said, hey, you need to cleanse that. Like, you need to clean it, because when people do ceremonies in there and they meditate and all that stuff, like, there's darkness that stays in there, so you have to cleanse it. Yeah, I just kind of rolled my eyes and said, okay, sure, yeah, we'll take care of that. When he said that, the staff from the kitchen kind of looked at each other like, that might be the reason why, right? And what they were saying is that they had witnessed a ghost, that they used to see in the first floor of the building. I just kind of, as a manager of the place, I just kind of, I don't know, like, I just kind of laughed it off, I guess. I heard a couple strange stories, right? Like, about the encounters with the ghost. I don't know. I don't want to say like I didn't believe it. I feel like there were other things that we needed to do instead of stop and talk about this ghost that was going on. And I also felt like the employees were sort of trying to figure me out. They told me that they had an issue with the electrical system in the restaurant, because the first floor had a restaurant that was open for dinner. The issue was that one night they tried to flick on the lights and they wouldn't turn on. Right? So they like checked the wiring, they checked the switches, they checked everything. And then they realized that somebody had unscrewed every single light bulb above the tables. Now, like, it was like these cups around the light bulb. So you need to really stick your hand in there. And it was like a whole process. So even just unscrewing them to switch them out was a tough thing. So unscrewing them just because felt kind of like, who would do that, right? Like there's no point to it. So eventually they figured it out. Like somebody unscrewed all the light bulbs. It was just a weird thing. I was like, okay, people are playing jokes. Like this isn't cool, whatever. Like one time I lost my keys and we searched around. I couldn't find it anywhere. Like I couldn't find the set of keys anywhere. And we searched around. I asked people to help me out. We couldn't find them at all. We looked all around the front desk and nothing. And then we started talking about like, yeah, strange things happen. Like they've been happening like this. And maybe 10 seconds after, I turned around and the keys were right there in front of me. Like they were right there by the computer. Like you could just see them. Anybody could see them. Like they all spotted them. Like, where did this come from? You know, they say that the people in South America have a belief in like they believe goblins are real and that they're mischievous creatures and they play around with people. So the topic came up and it was just another topic of conversation, right? So when I was coming in into the front door of the building, I saw somebody standing by the end of the reception area, like in the little office where the receptionist was. So my thought was like, oh, that's probably the receptionist's boyfriend or somebody, and he's not supposed to be in there, so I need to tell him to leave. So I opened the door to the office, and there's nobody there at the end of the hall, just the receptionist in her little corner with a computer. At that moment, like I felt dizzy, like I felt like throwing up. Like I had just seen somebody standing there. I opened the door and the person's gone. Now I described this person to the receptionist because she asked me like, what happened? Is everything all right? And I told her I just saw somebody standing here. And she was calm and she just asked me to describe him. And I said, oh, well, he's kind of tall, short hair, kind of a beard. And she said, oh yeah, that's the Chiquito, which is kind of like a nickname that they gave to this entity that they had all seen. I don't know. I felt like weird chills. Like it was the first time I had ever seen anything like that, right? So it was confusing. I think that was the word. Like I was confused at the whole thing. So I got up and I knew Carla was working upstairs, like in the way up there in the terrace of the building. I just remember running up there and I was like, you're not going to believe what just happened. I just saw a ghost downstairs. Right at that moment, by this time it was like late afternoon, like not late afternoon, it was early evening, right? So it was getting dark. And the lights were on in the cafeteria area up in the terrace of the building. As I'm speaking to her, the light above me, right, it's flickering. Like it's just kind of turning on and off right above us. Like this is just a single light above the table. Of course, like at the time I didn't put two and two together. Like I just kind of saw the light flickering and I'm like, oh man, we have more issues. We'll try to like kind of screw it back in and it just wouldn't stop flickering, right? So I moved tables. Like I was like, okay, this is weird. Just pulled up the chair from the table next to me. I kept talking to Carla, and that light started flickering. I like at the time, I just kind of thought it was weird. Like I was so focused on my story that I didn't even think about the light. This is later once I'm telling someone else about, the ghost. They said, oh, yeah, like that's what we think happened with the light incident in the restaurant. So then that's when it clicked in my head. Like the light flickering. That's what happened to me, right? And I have a witness. Like I know somebody who was there and saw the light flickering above me. And there were a lot of theories out there. We had volunteers that used to help out, with cleaning and stuff like that. And one time they said, you know what? Like I feel like there's something here, so we have to do a cleansing. So I thought about that same guy up in the cafeteria who told me that we needed a cleansing. And this volunteer who was into like energies and things like that, he said, hey, we should probably do like a little sacrifice, like give up something that you like and we have to give it to the building. But I said, okay, yeah, let's just do it. It'll, if everybody will calm down about this, yeah, I'll do it. So I remember I gave up like a steak kebab, like one of my favorite things to eat. Dug up a little hole in the backyard, and one of the guys burned a dollar bill. There was also a session that they did where they just put sage, I think it's called sage. They burned it and walked around the building. But after that, there was some lightness. Like the place just felt lighter. I don't know how else to describe that. It was just like, I wouldn't call it peaceful, but it felt different. And all these incidents about things disappearing, lights turning on and off, random electrical issues, everything went away. Like that wasn't a thing anymore. Now, I hear a lot of scary stories, and I have read ghost stories forever, for as long as I can remember. Now, I know how strange it sounds, like I'm aware of that, but I mean, there's no other explanation for it. Now, that building was old, right? It was a really old building. It was actually owned by nuns when we were renting it. But it used to be a bank or something like that. It's an old building, like really old. Like whenever there was damage to the pipes or anything like that, it was just a hassle to fix it because it was made with like old-fashioned tools and stuff. I think that the place had a lot to do with it. Like when we first got there, I remember just feeling really anxious a lot of the time. Like there was something there, but this is all like looking back on the place. I know for sure, I know what I saw, and I have a witness to what happened after with the lights and everything, with the keys disappearing. Other people had seen this person roaming around. In South America, you have guards that stay there overnight, and they take care of the place, right? Like they make their rounds and stuff. And one time he had like screamed, like he was freaking out because he kind of fell asleep in the office, and he felt somebody just like drag his leg, like grab it and drag him, and he freaked out. Like he got super scared. There's also something else that happened. One of the previous administrators of that building died in a tragic accident. So a lot of the employees believe that he was still roaming around that area. I was actually never scared being in that place. It was just odd. Like you just felt something strange. Some people just refused to walk around there at night though. Like they were just like, no, I'm probably going to bump into the ghost.